right, welcome back to another episode of the Fulfilled Veteran podcast here. So today I'm going to chat with Ryan, and this is, I think, episode number 22. So we're getting there. So welcome, Ryan. Glad to have you. As you guys know, I'm mostly on Rumble, so we can say whatever the fuck we want. We'll be over on YouTube, probably kicked off because we say fuck a lot. So I self-sponsor, so I'm going to talk about myself for a little bit, tell you guys who I am if you don't know, and then I'll turn it over to Ryan, and we'll get to know him better too. So if you guys don't know, I have really two menus. So one is I'm the best in the world at helping deliver you guys as veterans your money that you've earned through your service. And in less than 5 years, I delivered over $10 billion to you guys. And I know that sounds like a lot because it feels like a lot, but the crazy thing is that the government is still stealing. Ryan and I are going to talk about money a lot today. So Ryan, get this. The government is stealing every single month $50 billion plus from our veterans. 50 billion.
Not surprised at all.
Yeah, right. No shock there, right? That's Ryan's shock face. No way. Yeah. So, and the majority of it is even though the VA started this years ago, where they called it compensation and pension, and they now call it disability, and they make you feel like you're being pushed down in a little bitty emotional box and not being paid, and because that's the government for you doing shit like that, and it's evil. And yeah, even today I got 2 new clients, and we were talking about how when you're 100% permanent and total like I am, not only are you receiving about $5,000 tax-free, and that's if you're non-retired. If you are retired, it's about $7,500 a month tax-free. Not only that, but the two other most common financial blunders or boo-boos that veterans have is, one of them, they don't know about their family members being depicted on their e-benefits correctly, and or on their paycheck correctly once you're out of the military. I've been able to advise a guy who 2 weeks later he received $13,000 in back pay. Wow, I got a better story than that. Student loan removal. Most veterans have no clue about student loan removal. There's so many professional veterans out there who are going to further education, nurses, doctors, lawyers, all that kind of stuff, pilots, ton of them, and they have no clue until I tell them. And even one woman, she received about $250,000 just wiped off her record. Isn't that insane? So it's like
I wouldn't mind that.
And the crazier thing is, it's yours the whole fucking time. That's why by the way, Ryan doesn't know this, but that's why there's a giant check over my left shoulder. That's the check that every veteran should receive walking out the door. Last day, pat on the back. Here's your big fucking check. Go live life. Go have your freedom. Ryan and I were talking about that before too. Freedom is money. Money is freedom. So you earn both, your money and your freedom. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. We'll get to know each other more on that one. The other menu item that I've got is that I help veterans build their empires. So whatever that is to you, for-profit, non-profit, which, by the way, going back to my other menu item, I am a for-profit, so I can talk about all the money. That's why I call it yes and. Yes, you qualify for 100%. Yes, and property taxes removal and reduction. Yes, and kids' money for college. Yes, and so much money you can't even fucking fathom. It's insane. It is insane. So I just want to make sure that was clear from the beginning. So building the empires. So that's for-profit, non-profit, whatever it is you want to do. The next big thing is you. Most of us veterans understand what grunt style is and Black Rifle Coffee, but there's so many veterans. Why don't we know about each other? Why aren't we doing what our ancestors did when they came back from World War II, where we knew a lot of shit? We're like, oh, wow, that's cool. That guy he's a veteran. That makes sense. So there's so many cool ideas out there, but society these days just tries to put you into a little bitty this and make you do what they want you to do. And I heard a great term for this, Ryan. This is real recent. It's a song out there called Toxic, T-O-K, like TikTok, S-I-K, so Toxic. And we're going to do a whole video series on just toxicity of the not just the world, but the world puts pressure on America, but America is the best, and the American dream is the best. So we're post-debate, presidential debate, so I'm not going to get too deep into some things, but man, there's so many veteran entrepreneurs, so many. I mean, if I told you an idea that even just one dude had, you'd be like, why? Where's that dude? He is the next fucking Elon Musk of cool ideas, billions of dollars worth of idea. because people get in their own fucking head. They allow themselves to get in their own head. And so anyway, you'll find more about that on my website. Make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing, following. Knowledge is power. I've got a new website coming out this coming week, so hopefully around the same time that this gets put out on YouTube and Rumble. But man, I'm so excited about that because it's just got so many more bells and whistles to it and that kind of thing. So really excited. What you're going to see over, there you go, my left shoulder too, is my book. So this is the first in a series of books, and it went to #1 on Amazon for pre-sale. It's actually going to be, it's called The First 5 Fucks Veterans Should Give. And this is not it, but this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be a little bitty survival guide. It's going to be straight and to the point. Ryan, we're going to chat about a lot of this today. It's a lot of F's. So a lot of F words. So like family, faith, finances, fitness, fun, things like that. So it's quick and easy. So you guys can just grab it off, buy about 10 at a time. A lot of my clients are pilots, airline pilots. So they're like, oh yeah, man, I can't wait till I can just carry a whole fucking bag of them and just hand them out the airport as I'm waiting on my flight. And I'm like, awesome. So one lady called it a survival guide. Oh, it's like a little survival guide. Oh, fuck yeah, it is. Because I'm telling you, once you know better, then you go, what the fuck? I've been getting fucked this whole time. I'm sorry, but yes. But the good news is I'm here. So I think that's been about enough about me. I've already wasted a couple of minutes here, so I'm going to sit down. Ryan, welcome. And tell us about yourself, the 1 or 2 minute story.
Sure. So I was an Air Force security forces officer. Did 10 years. Got broken. Got medically retired at 10. Commissioned through the University of Maryland, College Park. So go Terps. Hopefully it'll be decent this year. Probably not, but there's always a hope. Originally from Long Island, New York. Was a 9/11 kid. Dad worked in the towers, and luckily he got home that day. But from that point on, I knew service was going to be the focus of my life. So made the agreement with my mother to go to college first, do ROTC, commission that route. And then, yeah, went to security forces, did a lot of cool stuff, met a lot of cool people, traveled a good part of the world. And after 10 years, they tried to fix me. They couldn't. Air Force said either you never deploy again and serve the rest of your career behind the desk or retire early. So I punched the retirement ticket, got out, and kind of stumbled my way into finance. Didn't expect it, didn't really have a background in it. My undergraduate, my master's degrees are all based on homeland security and security management and all the different anti-terrorism principles and yada yada. So yeah, this was an unexpected happenstance that worked out the best, and has been a really, really fun, wild ride ever since.
Gotcha, I appreciate that. So, what has inspired you as you've gotten further in? I know you got a sign behind you and all that kind of stuff too. So, what inspired you once you got out and you started doing things? And did you work for somebody else, corporate, for a little bit, and then kind of figure out that wasn't the right thing? And so now that I think every day we give ourselves room to find even more about ourselves. So, how's that? Talk to everybody out there on how that journey has been for you and is going for you. And
yeah. So as I was going through the whole med board process, trying to buy a house so that, knowing that I was going to, in the next year or so, not have an Air Force career, military career, and have to figure out the civilian side of life, I secured the house that I was looking for. In that process, the broker that I was working with, looking for investors, I didn't have much, but I had enough to meet what was needed. I became a solid investor in the small little brokerage. After my med board was complete and I was out, I was looking, how do I become more active in the company that I'm now a silent partner in? How do I help it grow? How do I take all the leadership principles the military taught me and apply it to the mortgage world? We did not have the same values. I believed in empowering people, training people, mentoring people, helping them achieve their goals and succeed. And he looked at people that worked for the company as a commodity. So after some back and forth, I ended up pulling my equity out, sold my stake, sold my stake out, and got my license and became a mortgage loan originator. Worked for a couple of private companies. Kept getting recruited to work, move myself up the ladder to where I went from just loan originator to a sales manager to a branch manager, and then just kept going up and up. After 2020, 2020 was a phenomenal year for the mortgage world. Rates were stupid low. People were buying like crazy. They were refining like crazy. Made a whole bunch of money. So it shifted from, great, how do I continue to grow my personal business to how do I find more vets that would be really, really good at this, but doesn't know it exists. And if they do know it exists, they don't know how to get into it. And then once I get them in, how do we train them and kind of expedite that process so that they don't have to fumble fuck their way through this process and learn the hard way. We can kind of teach them everything that we've learned from the loan origination side to the marketing side to the growth and development side, and really just help ensure they're successful. Because when I came through, no one taught me anything. I had to self-teach it all, from not only just how to do the job itself, but also, how to market, how to get business, and how to grow. So we started a program called Boots to Loans, where we bring folks in from active duty, as well as the veteran side, and teach them from scratch how to be successful. And one thing led to another. We kept growing and growing, and we're doing some great things, and we're getting bigger and bigger by the day.
So how many staffers, or how long have you done it? Let's start with time frame. How long have you been under your own shingle?
So we started this venture at the end of 2020. It was December of 2020 is when we truly pulled it all together. End of November, early December, when we started pulling it all together, and making this thing real. Right now, we're right around 60 to 65. I say that because we just got a whole bunch more folks that are coming on board. So we're shoring up the numbers. Goal is to get to at least 100 by the end of the year. The one thing that slows us down is obviously that we are entirely staffed by veterans, and there's not a lot of veterans in this space. We bring in folks that want to learn, and we teach them from scratch. So if you do have a passion, or you do want to learn finance, we're here. We'll treat you. We'll train you. Don't care if you've got an MBA or if you got a high school degree. What we're looking for are people with the right mentality, the right work ethic, that want to learn. Moreover, they want to help their customers achieve their goals. That's the biggest thing. We don't hire into a used car salesman or people that are more out to pay their wallets. You've got to do what's right for your customers. You've got to do the ethical and the moral approach. That doesn't always lead to profits for you, but it leads to ensuring that your customers know that you actually give a shit about them, and you're going to do what's right for them when it push comes to shove. We also look for teamwork. Teamwork is huge with us, right? We brought the military camaraderie mentality to the finance world. One of the things that I experienced on the corporate side before we started this venture was you can't trust people, right? You work with these folks, they sit in the office next to you, they work at the office up the road a couple miles, they will stab you in the back in order to generate more business. The camaraderie aspect doesn't really exist on the civilian side, especially when it comes to something where you're sales-based. I've had people literally, try to steal my customers, and they work in the next office over. Don't know how or why you could live with yourself or sleep with yourself, but that's what it is. We don't have that. We have the exact opposite of that. We've actually fired people because of that. Our folks take care of each other. They mentor each other. They cover down when something happens in life. No one's questioning about, what could, why do you need help? It's more of what can I do to help you and step up so that when you're going through this time of need, no matter how big or small it is, your brothers and sisters are there to help support you and backfill you. And then obviously, when put the shoes on their foot, everyone's there to help you. So, like I said, it's all the best parts of the military mentality and military experience without a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't understand about the civilian world. Doesn't give a shit.
No,
especially doesn't give a shit about veterans. It's so weird. There was a good line from a TV show, and it was a woman talking to another woman, and she said a great line, very truthful. It was like a zombie apocalypse kind of a thing, and they said, this one lady said, as soon as you stop caring about my family, I stop caring about yours.
Yeah.
Because relationships are that way. And I've been doing this for a year longer than you. And and by the way, you probably didn't know, but I was enlisted in the infantry. Then that was late 90s. I got med boarded in 2000. I tried to get back in a couple of ways different after 9/11, got denied, said no. I did the ROTC route too because I was a slow and steady, and got picked up for medevac flight. So I was a medevac pilot over in Afghanistan. So did my long tour in 09 to 10. So anyway, talk about take care of your people. That's my point. Is like, even yesterday, I had to have a tough conversation with my clients. I'm in front of the camera all the time, and I'm not a camera hog. And you're going to hear me talk about, we are silent professionals. We're not afraid of the camera. We just aren't camera hogs, you know. But now I've got a podcast. I do 2 hours every or 2 hours each time, and that's twice a week. And once I've got like what I call force multipliers. Once my force multipliers get going and they do take a lot off my plate, then my intent is to do a podcast every single workday to where I get up to 100. And there's algorithms out there. There's reasons for that. But just to get information out there, get information like your info out there and let people know that you're out there, because you said a perfect line. That there's so many veterans that don't know that awesome jobs exist. And whether it could be small town stuff or working remotely, and you just have to, that's why I've got a fucking podcast. So that everybody out there can go, oh shit, Ryan and Albert are out there doing cool things, and other people that Ryan's talking to and other people that Albert's talking to. Who are they? Let's get in that network. Because even though I had tough conversations with my clients yesterday, we're making a pivot to make sure everything's still compliant with the government, and we have to pivot off what the government does. And that big ass check is always on the other side of compliant paperwork. So no matter what it is, it's always compliant paperwork with some government entity, college or whatever. Ryan knows that very well too. So yeah, when you're buying a house, selling a house, trading a house, somebody died, somebody was born, it's always some kind of form. Somebody's got to fill out a form somewhere, and somebody's got to know what to do before that, during it, after that, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I call my company the Fulfilled Veteran Project, not the let me see what I can do project. So I'm sorry, that's probably taken. Mia.org.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. Halfassery.org. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But,
it's not our style as veterans.
What's funny, I've held even like Town Hall Tuesday over the past year. Town Hall Tuesday, every Tuesday. I think we've only maybe canceled a very, very small handful of them over the past year. And I'm just out in front of my clients and anybody else that wants to ask or throw mud at me and whatever. And you know, it's weird. Nobody ever gets on live camera with me and throws mud at me. They'll say shit behind my back, whatever, like you were talking about, but they won't ever get in your face and say something, which by the way, I'm 5'6". I don't intimidate anybody, but
short kings, right?
What's that?
We're short kings. I'm only 5'8", so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I had so much room in the Blackhawk though. That was nice. I'm sitting next to people. My knees were up here trying to drive that daggum thing, and I got plenty of room and room to stretch out and everything. Oh, so much fun. But,
I always felt bad for the guys in the Humvee that were just, and they're 6 inches taller than me. I still had a little bit of room. They were just crammed, and I felt bad. I was man, I couldn't imagine. But they made good bullet catchers, Put them in the front.
Yep. Yeah, that's what somebody said before too. They're like, "Oh my God, look at you! You're a big target."
Yep.
Not exactly. We'll be targeted.
No, you're the first guy in the stack. Push you through.
Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, just going back to like that camaraderie that the civilian world doesn't give a shit. And I just want to be clear, because I know you're working with people that are in the service still or getting out, and especially when you go through like a med board or just the toxicity of the service right now. And I know people are feeling it's a lot of pressure, and you get out and you have bloated expectations. And I did too. When I got out, I thought, man, everybody's going to want to hire me, and I'm just so cool. And I did cool things, and everybody loves me. And they say, oh, every room you walk into, oh, there's Albert's here. He's a great connector. But also, by the way, guys, you have to ask. You have to have an ask. You have to have an ask and an offer. So If you have
You gotta
nothing
have
to
value,
offer,
too.
nobody's going to ask you. And if you don't ask, nobody's going to. You have to have two-way communication. You can't just show up with your fucking chest candy and go, "Give me $100,000." Nobody does that. If there is a that out there, if there's an easy button, let me know, because Ryan and I have no clue where the fuck that piece of shit's buried.
If you find it, I'm standing by to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that'd be nice.
So what? So you said you had a pretty significant shift. Would you say that your background in, let's say, legal, law, and all that kind of stuff made it easier for you to jump into what you're doing now?
Not necessarily. I think the easiest thing that made it help accelerate that transition was just the military mentality of do more with less, think outside the box, solve the problem yourself. Don't expect someone to solve it for you. All the things that the military kind of forces you to learn pretty quick if you want to be successful. That's what really helped get me to where I was learning this and doing this pretty damn good. Because no one's going to grab you by the hand on the civilian side and drive you through it, right? No one's going to, and not no one, there are fields that do that. But in my experience, no one grabbed me by the hand and drove me through. No one said, hey, if you want to be successful, I'll teach you everything you need to know. It was look at the people that are successful, figure out what they're doing, and then how does that relate to your life, and how do you bring it home? And the military is really good at teaching you that, because half of that is what is another unit doing? How can we achieve their goal, achieve what they're doing, because they're obviously successful. They got better PT scores, they got better attrition rates, whatever the case may be, and let's figure out how we can replicate what they're doing, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and do the same thing. That was one of the biggest skill sets that I learned from the military that I was able to bring to this side. Again, just adapting and overcoming the challenges, adapting and overcoming the lack of knowledge, figuring out the trial and error of how to take these new principles and apply them and see what works, what doesn't work. I think that's one of the biggest things that folks who are getting out don't realize they have. Especially when you and I were at the height of the war. If you were stateside, a lot of the assets were going overseas, so there wasn't much left back home for us to work when you were home. So it was, all right, we have minimal tools, we got minimal, equipment. How do we still fulfill the mission when half of our manpower is downrange? At least that's how the Air Force works. The Air Force doesn't deploy as units. We pull folks onesies and twosies from each base, and we send them downrange to make a new unit downrange. So when you miss, 10, 20, 15, whatever the number of people is, because they're deployed, you've got to make up their workload without getting any type of backfill. And some of those people are specialists in whatever field they're in or whatever job they're holding. A lot of that, again, adapting and overcoming and filling the voids is how we got here today.
So talk to me more about so once you got bit by the financial bug, take me further down that rabbit hole.
Sure. So we started solely doing mortgages, specialize in VA loans, try to identify areas within the veteran community that weren't getting service right. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of bad information being passed around as fact. There's a lot of companies out there, and I won't name names, who will tell you that you need a 620 credit score to get a VA home loan. That's horseshit. It's 100% false, and the VA handbook is explicit about it. The VA handbook is very clear that they don't set the minimum credit score requirements. The VA has no minimum credit score requirement. They leave it up to the lender to decide how much risk they're willing to assume, and the lender then sets their credit requirement. That's all well and good. The problem is a lot of big companies, again, everyone knows who we're talking about here, they don't tell you that. They tell you the VA requires a 620, or they position it that way so that you assume if they can't approve you, nobody else can. And that's just straight false. A lot of lenders like us will go down to a 500 or a 550 credit score. Now, again, if your credit is in the 500s, not 550s, it's probably best to do some credit repair first because your rate's going to suck. the risk is high, therefore the rate's going to be terrible. It is what it is. However, if there's an urgent need to acquire a property and you have to do it, even with that low credit score, yeah, we can get it done. But it's just a matter of getting the actual facts out there so that the veteran community can become educated and then make informed decisions. Who they work with doesn't matter. What lenders they deal with doesn't matter. What matters is that they're not taken advantage of and they're not sold, a pile of horse shit thinking that it's, magical and whatever else. But moreover, just again, giving them the tools so that they can make informed decisions and they can come out on top. And that's where we started down building this. And it's just, like I said, we've expanded into so many different verticals. It's crazy. As we keep helping more and more people, more and more opportunities present themselves. For instance, we created a joint venture with an insurance agency that's been around for 30 years. It's run by an Army Ranger, which is, how we got associated with them. And then we got into all the property and casualty insurance, where we're helping veterans shop their insurance policies and get them, ideally the best rate possible for what their needs, and to make sure that they are not exposed liability-wise, and make sure they got the right coverage so that God forbid something happens, they're not going to be told, sorry, you don't have coverage in your policy for that, and you're screwed, which happens, again, all too much because people are trying to sell the lowest rate out there, the lowest policy out there, just to get the deal, but they're not doing what's best for the customer. And sometimes it means paying a little more because you don't want to have exposure. Flood insurance, for instance, most people don't realize this, but if there's a flood and your house gets flooded out and you don't have flood insurance, your homeowner's policy is not going to cover that. And typically when your house gets flooded out, this government comes in and says, your house is condemned, you can't live there. There's a threat of mold and mildew and all the shit we dealt with in the, in the barracks and in the base housing, but now it's in your house and you got to tear out all the drywall typically, and you got to replace everything, and you got to replace all your furniture, and none of that's going to be covered by your insurance now, unless you got a flood policy. And most people don't realize that. Most people aren't told that because when you're up against different insurance agents, not everyone is going to tell you everything because they want to make the sale. And they know if they tell you it's going to cost $500 a year to add flood, and someone else is not telling them that, then they're typically going to go and choose the lower option because they don't realize what I just told you. But yeah, our goal obviously is just to educate people and tell them, hey, if this does happen, even though the chances are low and it's, you're in a 1,000-year flood area, yada, yada, but you'd be surprised how many times that area floods within that 1,000 years, it's a 1,000-year flood area. But either way, here's the knowledge. Here's why this is a good thing to add on. Here's what happens if you don't. You're now informed. Go ahead and tell us how you want to proceed. That's always been our goal from every vertical that we're in, and that's how we build our folks and train our folks. But yeah, so as we keep growing and expanding, new opportunities present themselves. And the most recent one that we're rolling out November 1st, and we're truly excited about, is a program called Vet Life. We got tired of being denied for life insurance. Me personally, just like you, I'm 100% P&T. I got shot down by, I can't tell you how many different insurance companies, because I got PTS, I've got IBS, sleep apnea, I'm a scuba diver, pilot, a private pilot, not as cool as you. I only got 100 hours or so. But yeah, insurance companies don't like that. That's like the trifecta of risk, and I could not get coverage. I looked at the VA stuff, and truthfully, it's not very good. Never talk bad about the VA because the VA is all things holy, obviously. And I don't want to get audited, but it's not a very good policy. If you do the VGLI route, it's a term policy that every 5 years, the cost just keeps going up. And when you get to 70 years old, it's like $2,000 a month. Most people at 70 years old, when you're in a fixed income, can't afford $2,000 a month. And if you've been paying into it for the last 30 plus years, all that money is gone. It's just tossed in the black hole, and you'll never see it again. And then the new one, they just built the VA Champ or the Vet Champ or whatever it's called. It's only $40,000. $40,000 doesn't get you very far, especially with this inflation that we got going on now. That'll cover your burial services and maybe, a couple credit cards, but it's not going to make sure that your mortgage gets paid and your kids aren't thrown out on the street. So what we did was we went out there and we identified that there's obviously a need in the community, and we built a life insurance product called Vet Life that we're rolling out November 1st. Really proud of it, really excited about it. It's built on what's called an IUL. I don't know if you're familiar with IULs. It stands for Indexed Universal Life. And it's a cash value permanent type life insurance where when you make contributions every month, we call them contributions, not payments. When you make contributions every month, kind of like your 401k, that money goes into a cash value account and it grows and grows and grows and compounds year after year. Part of it goes to covering your death benefit and your living benefit. Part of it goes to cover to the cash value, and it compounds. We use 6% as the standard, just to kind of project out what it's going to look like. However, a lot of people are seeing 10 to 14 or higher percent returns a year. It just depends on which fund you're picking because there's different options. Unlike a 401k, it grows tax-free, so you never pay tax on that money, which is huge because obviously if you put in 200 grand over the course of your life and it grows to a million plus, when you access those funds, because you can access those funds as a retirement distribution. Again, unlike a 401k, you're not paying tax on that. So your access to your money is significantly higher, which is fantastic. But what we love about it truly is that you don't have to be a certain age to access your money. So you can do your 20 years, you can retire at 40, and then you can touch that money and use it to start a business. You can use it to buy real estate if you want to, start buying rental properties. You can use it to buy a car if you need to, or pay off debt, or if Big Army has taken 7 months to start your retirement pay after you retire, you don't have to worry about it because you get this nest egg, and that's a real life situation we hear all the time. It's taken 7+ months for them to start seeing checks. Even though you're not getting your active duty check anymore, you have no money coming in, it is what it is. It sucks. But now you've got, hopefully, you start this early and you've got this program where you can access the money from there, and you can either withdraw it early, you can borrow against it. There's 100 ways to skin the cat on how to access those funds. But yeah, you don't have to struggle anymore, paycheck to paycheck, or trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills because you've got this. And then, like we talked about earlier, there are ways to use this as infinite banking models, which is huge. We've got some financial advisors that we just recruited, all veterans, obviously, because we only hire veterans, who have ways to diversify these funds so that you can reinvest them into different verticals, whether it's real estate or whatever else you're looking for, where you could start seeing returns 2 and 3 times on that same money without ever touching it and taking it out of the account. Mind-blowing in terms of why no one's teaching troops this when they're 20 or 22 years old. We're obviously starting to change that. But the fact that we can do this is a game changer for the veteran community. Another awesome thing about this, and I could talk about it all day because I was the first person to go through it.
Keep going.
Right? Yeah, I was the first one to go through it, right? Again, I'm sure they taught you at ROTC like they taught me, leadership is being the first one through the door, is leading by example. And yeah, I was the one who said, hey, use me as a guinea pig. Here, I'm, what we're going to typically see in the community with 100% P&T and yada yada. So, beat me up. And so we sent 10 folks through, me being the first, as the test run. Of the first 10, 6 were immediately denied by 7 carriers. We then took those 6 who were denied and then put them through the Vet Life carrier and through the Vet Life program. All 6 are now approved. All 6 have full coverage for life insurance. Me personally, I've got $1 million policy. I contribute $500 a month. Of that 500, 230 goes to covering my actual insurance side of it. The rest of it is my money that just sits in a cash value account that grows and grows and grows. So for the 230 that I'm paying, it covers me for $1 million. It covers my wife and my 2 daughters also for 100 grand a piece for them. And not only is it a death benefit, but it's a living benefit. So what that means is if, God forbid, I get cancer tomorrow, or if I'm in a motorcycle accident and I'm locked up in a hospital bed for a year, a full body cast, and a coma, yada, yada, my family can go and they can take up to 80% of that death benefit of that $1 million and use it to live off of. So whether they're paying hospital bills, whether they're paying, the mortgage, the bills, yada, yada, they have full access to that. So it's not just you have to die to gain access to your money. You just need to be, to meet that living benefit requirement, which is, a chronic long-term illness, cancer, severe accident, something of that nature. Something that you obviously didn't plan for, didn't have already. But yeah, that enables you to obviously make sure your family's taken care of, or make sure you're taken care of, because you're still alive when you're accessing those funds. You don't have to watch the house go to auction or foreclosure because you're not working anymore because you're in a hospital bed. You're taken care of, you're protected. Um, it, Again, it's really, really cool. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of financial tools. It's got all these different functions. Because it's a life insurance policy, it's protected against predators. No one can ever go after it. The IRS can't go after it. Collection agencies can't go after it. Your ex-wife can't go after it. And again, talk to your lawyer about that because I'm not an attorney. So I'm not giving you legal advice. There's my disclosure. But yeah, it is fully protected because it's a life product. Truly, truly awesome tool for the community. And we can't tell you how many folks reach out to us and say, hey, I was denied over and over again because I got PTSD and no one will give me life insurance. Can you help us? Everyone that's come to us, yeah, absolutely. We've helped them all. They all have coverage now when they didn't have it before. And they've got really good coverage, which is the best part.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's just a deficiency the community had that we identified and wanted to fill. Because let's be honest here, who's going to be better at filling those voids than veterans themselves? Because we know what we need because we are the customer.
Good shit. Way to end it. Make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing. We'll put links and all this kind of stuff in here for Ryan and our stuff that we chatted about today. But yeah, man, we'll go behind the scenes here in a couple seconds and see you guys on the next one.